evening, Bob Schultz from Randolph. Was there any update on when the additional testing will be done up at Fenimore, the water testing? I've been here a while.
Yes, we noticed. It's been scheduled. The township's water testing has been scheduled. Should be happening soon, and then
We haven't gotten an official date yet.
Yeah.
But
The
it's in the
townships
process.
or the DEP going to do it? Or
Both. There's
both?
two
Okay.
that are going to be happening, Bob. One at the township's going to do one, and one, actually thanks to Mr. Bucco for pressing, it's going to be done by the NJ DEP also. So,
Excellent.
so one coming up that's going to be solely done by the township of Roxbury, and then there's going to be a second one.
In October.
It's going to be October, so we can get it by season.
Well, this is to get a baseline, confirming their original test, and then their test will come on the back of ours.
So they're going to do them in the same wells,
Yes,
Yeah.
same operating wells?
yes, as far as I understand.
That's excellent news. Do you know if they'll be testing for 1.4 dioxane, Chris? I know we had talked about this a while
there's a
ago.
letter on that is actually not an issue at all. Mr. Zelli put out a letter on 1.4 dioxane. Yeah. I thought it was posted. I don't know, but we'll check on it.
I'll check.
It's a non-issue from the professional's point of view.
Why? Because it was so low, or do you remember?
Basically, part of it was the weight of the actual
Vaporization.
pardon?
Yes. Yeah, the weight and vaporization.
Yeah, and
I know it's a very complicated test from what I've
no,
read about it.
We'll get the letter posted.
Okay.
It's easier.
Last thing, as you know, Reactum had filed a motion to intervene on behalf of the residents a few months ago. I was wondering if you had a position on whether you support the motion to intervene or not.
We haven't taken any position on that at all at this point in time.
Do you plan to? Or?
We weren't planning on it, no.
Because the judge will be ruling on that next Friday, from what we've heard.
Yeah, DEP is opposing it, correct?
Correct.
DEP opposes it.
Actually, the judge issued an order today, or yesterday, I guess. We were originally supposed to go in on the return date of SCP's order to show cause on Friday, the 28th. But as a result of that, she has canceled that argument, and she's going to take testimony from both REACT and the DEP on REACT's motion to intervene. So, as of right now, the way it stands is the SCP's motion on its order to show cause has been put off to a later date, and on the 4th of September, she has only requested that the DEP and REACT's attorney appear to argue for and against REACT's motion to intervene.
We were wondering if you would support the REACT's motion.
Again,
I know you haven't taken a position, so.
No, we haven't taken a position, but I certainly understand the DEP's position. You've been negotiating with SEP for a year and a half.
The DEP, yeah.
No, you have. REACT has for the last year and a half.
Negotiating with who?
SEP.
How have we been negotiating with SEP?
We've had it from last year. Mr. Morocco's confirmed it. Just your comments in the paper the other day, just I think reiterated that you're not sure who you're willing to work with, SEP or DEP. And if you have SEP anywhere in the mix, I can understand DEP's concerns. Couldn't you?
I would, but I don't know what comments you're talking about.
You and NJ.com, I have it here, I can show you, that you stated. Quote, Bob Schultz said he doesn't know whether he prefers SEP or DEP as future owner.
The lesser of two evils is still evil. The DEP, yeah.
So,
I mean,
so who's the lesser of the two evils?
Well, that's a good question. Who is it?
Well, it seems like, you're still in the middle of trying to figure out what that is yourself. And you're taking an action, quite frankly, on behalf of the Fenimore group, and quite frankly, I haven't heard from anybody that I know up there. This is a closed Facebook page. I haven't heard of any action being taken from its body in any way, shape, or form to suggest a direction for you or Bill Morocco to go into. So, you know, why don't you have a meeting and a vote from your membership that, yes, you will consider working with SEP? Because you have been. I mean, April of last year, your attorney Fredericks had asked to meet with the judge along with the SEP.
We don't.
Marchese and Fredericks, sorry.
Yeah, we don't have an attorney called Fredericks, and
no, Marchese.
React is not. Dan Marchese is not React's attorney as well, so.
Well,
Mr. Morocco, I'm telling you right now, I asked Mr. Morocco, and he said, yes, he thinks them working with SEP can do a better job of managing the Fenimore site. And then I also suggested a clay cover, but we all know that that's not appropriate at this point in time.
It doesn't matter, it's already capped on this.
Yeah, I know. And that's why you have professionals and you work with professionals to try and find out the best direction to go into.
So I would say then you would oppose the React's motion.
First of all, I'm speaking personally. I'm not speaking on behalf of the council. I've already stated the council's already agreed to take no action. But I said personally, I can understand DEP's position. Quite frankly, I'm a little aghast by it when I first heard about it last year, and you know we didn't say anything. And then your comments in the paper just led me down to think you're not even a resident here anymore. You're looking to try to decide without any vote of any group of React taking any kind of action to give you the direction that you want to take by sitting down at the table and deciding where it goes. So that's these are real concerns. And if you can't see that, I mean, we've been elected to represent the township. I don't know what actions have been taken on your behalf. Certainly since the beginning, I haven't even heard of a meeting of React in I don't know how many months. Many months.
It's been a few months, yeah.
Several. So, and that's when you started taking this position, that you wanted to sit down at the table. And I'm trying to figure out, sit down at the table and what kind of direction are you going to give at that table? And under whose authority is that going to be? Is that going to be the authority of Bob Schultz or Bill Morocco, or is that going to be the authority of React and their mission statement and what they wanted? So that's what I want to know, which personally, I want to know what you will be doing at that table when you're sitting there. Especially when we know you've already been meeting with SEP. And you can smile all you want, Bob. I got the camera right here. You can come over and sit next to me. But, we don't know what position you're going to take. Yet, again, the council decided to take a step back and not get involved. We quite frankly are surprised DEP did. So I personally do understand their concerns, because they just spent, $10 million or more on eradicating what was done up there. Whether it was their fault or not is a different story initially, but the person that brought it to where it was the previous owner.
That's true on DEP's
it is.
Watch and from their side.
Okay, regardless. The thing is once it got to that point in time, we've now been able to steer it to this point in time.
And we still don't know what's in that site.
Correct.
And they still refuse.
We can discuss.
We can go into each point, right?
We can.
And you haven't stepped up for the township as well.
Absolutely, I have stepped up for the township.
No.
I haven't stepped up for Bob Schultz.
No.
There's a big difference in the township and Bob Schultz. Bob Schultz, the self-appointed whatever you are, is nonsense. I've been elected. I was re-elected during the middle of this issue, and it was just a year and a half ago, Bob. Count back. This has been going on more than a year and a half. So I do speak on behalf of the public. The way the site is now is part of us hiring professionals as lay people in this field, hiring professionals to help guide us to the best situation possible. Doesn't mean everything was done correctly. Doesn't mean everything was done to our satisfaction. Absolutely not. And we've stated that along the way. But to sit behind a closed Facebook page throwing bombs doesn't make you right. You can have a different opinion, you're entitled to it. And I haven't argued with you about that. This is the most I've said to you in a long time. And that's because I was once again dumbstruck by your comment about you don't know who you want to work with, SEP or DEP. And that in itself is a no-brainer to me. SEP deserves no position at this table in any way, shape, or form. Whatever they did may have been under DEP's watch, but DEP wasn't doing it. DEP has, with their mistakes, at least tried to get to an end game, taking our advice on many issues, taking over our lead that you say we didn't take, and monitors and everything like that. We've spent taxpayer money, a lot of taxpayer money, to make sure our residents are safe, and from a health perspective and air perspective, to the best of our ability. Again, and it's not done. We're not saying it's done. We're nowhere near done. This is nowhere near done, Bob.
That's very true, because there's 2/3 of the site left there.
Pardon me?
There's 2/3 of the site left there.
If it were going to be capped at some point in time, yeah, but,
It's going to have to be based on the law.
well, the law was in place for many years before that.
The legacy landfill law specifically says that.
Okay. Somebody has to be willing to take on that cost and responsibility,
That's
and they're not entitled to the same kind of agreement that was granted previously. So it's a big difference. So the law may be the law, but they're not going to just be entitled to bring in what they want and keep moving forward on the way it was done in the past with this first phase, if you want to call it that. So you can talk to SEP, and we'll work to try to protect the residents to the best of our ability, openly, publicly, as we always have. We don't sit behind a closed page,
Not my
throw
page.
bombs. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You play all the semantics you want, Bob. Play all the semantics you want. I anticipate this to be playing shortly on your pages, and I hope you do, actually, because I'd like everybody to hear that. I would like to speak to everybody about that. I really would. I actually have started speaking to people about it, and they're a little in awe as well. So feel free.
Excellent, thank you.
So any other comments or questions?
That's it. Was there any update to the Fenimore?
We have an update coming from DEP that should be released next day or so.
And the ATDSR also
We're
had an
still,
update.
your Bill gets that copy, you get copied on that as well, so we're on the same page.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard on any issue? Yes, sir.
My name is Bob Pezza. I live at 37 Emmons Road. And kind of listen to the way you're speaking to Bob. And, you know, nobody's happy with what happened.
Correct.
But, you know, he is speaking out and helping people. I don't belong to react. I belong to anything. I didn't vote for you. I don't vote. I'm a political atheist. It's how I live my life. Okay? I'm a lowly proletariat, a plebe. That's how I live my life. Didn't get involved in politics. Did it for reasons. Sat listening. Your dad, you know, you remember what he called Judge Wilson? He called her an idiot. You remember what you called Senator Whalen?
I don't remember exactly, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Anybody remember? Do you remember?
Did I use the F word?
No, you didn't use the F word, but you called him an idiot. And, you know, like I said in the beginning, we're the village of idiots because we allow this to happen. And my standpoint with the DEP is that it's not the institution, it is someone within it that needs to be removed from the decision-making process because it's like a matter of trying to bite your own teeth. You can't do it. It's not gonna it's not gonna get fixed unless they find out, you know, who is responsible for allowing these things to metastasize. That's how I feel. And you know, Anthony, I saw you, Councilor Bucco, I saw you, you know, putting down a bill that said it was a bill with a fancy name.
It was a bad bill with a good name.
Bad bill with a good name. I think that this bill should have been recognized by everybody in the Senate. It was a bad bill with a good name. And that's what troubles me, because I'm not, you know, how could I see that and the people who are making these decisions not see it? That's what's disturbing to me. And this is something that I feel that just happened because it happens. You know, it's not, again, it's not one person. It's just the way the system works. Maybe it's not broken, Chris, when I told you the system was broken. Maybe that's how it's designed. And we all know what happens, you know. Everybody makes our compromises, and no one wants to take the blame. And I just hope that moving forward, that there are some really concerning issues for me, because I thought about moving, and you know what? I don't want to be forced to move from this town. I don't. And I hope that, you know, there's a little more attention paid to the decisions we're making, because I think every one of us probably, in retrospect, would have done something different. Yeah. So, you know, and with these, as when Ron was here speaking about the aquifers, the way the water runs underground, it's impossible to tell if this has been in our house already. We don't even know, you know, and no one's going to sit here and tell us otherwise. You know, no one can tell me with any certainty that benzene hasn't been in my water already. They can't, because it's up there, and it's like if you have a professional that comes in and does testing around even your oil tank, you could miss the leak, and it goes in the sand and will run in a vein, and you'll never even know. So these things happen, and you know, I just hope that they did mitigate this, but mitigation, as we know, is just subsides the symptoms. It's not a cure, and I'm not saying there isn't even a panacea for this problem, but I hope that everybody, you know, does their due diligence to make some decisions that will be reflect our township in a much better light.
Thanks, Bob. We'll try.
Can I just come up? Hey, listen, Bob, since the beginning you've been very passionate. Since I've known you about trying to get to the bottom of this, so you've expressed that since day one. So this is not anything new that you've been bringing up, and you know, eventually we're going to have to take some steps back once all these problems are solved and figure out exactly how this happens, so it doesn't happen to anybody else in the future. So,
right.
You know, you're absolutely right. In regards to the testing, we did expand the water testing, and we're going to do a test on our own. You know, as well as having the DEP do another test on top of that. So we got 2 more sets of water tests coming down. You know, is that going to be totally conclusive? No, but it will narrow it down even further.
I get it.
As far as that. So we're really pressing for those additional water tests. So within the next 3 to 4 months, you know, there's probably going to be 2 additional tests, and we can see it, you know, the trends at that particular point. So I think that will help out. I think it will help.
I get it. I just wish they did these tests before, because the technology was out there, and before they did it, it wasn't tested, and it should have been.
Well, again, the initial reports didn't have a lot of that information, but
right,
now,
but
now we're doing it.
The original reports should have really tested that property a little more, you know, thoroughly before they allowed, the DEP went in there and cut the trees, you know. And it's funny because I met someone over the winter that I was supervising the project, we built the first aid squad in Summit. And unfortunately, when it's 0 degrees out, I gotta work, so, you know, this is how it is. And it's how I live my life, and I'm happy with it, you know, but you know, I met someone who was a high-level official in a neighboring town, and I asked him if he thought this would have happened in his town, and he said, yeah, it would have. And I said, what? I said to him, well, how do you feel about being around these people that allow things like this to happen? And he said, I just hope I never become one. And, you know, it's just, I hope that we all learn the lesson from this. I really do.
Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard on any issue, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. Move on. Back to the agenda.